Welcome back for another book review. Today we are talking about this one. We've also been blessed by this sweet little office kitty who has decided that today when I'm trying to record, she's just gonna be here all the time getting into mischief. So today's book is a Pagan Portals itty bitty little book. This is the Aphrodite book. Encountering the Goddess of Love and Beauty and Initiation by, it looks like Irisanya, I could be totally wrong, Moon. So this little book goes over the goddess, obviously, Aphrodite, in a very modern context. It discusses her myths and then how those myths can relate to our modern life. I would give this one a 4 out of 5 star. Really, this is a fantastic intro book if you are starting to consider working with Aphrodite, you want to know about her a little bit more, again, in a very modern context. This is a great starting point. There's myths, there's rituals, there's associations for this deity. It's got a little bit of everything, but again, it's not even 100 pages, so the little bit is a little. Obviously this is not the end all on the topic of this goddess, but it is a really good starting point. So needless to say, I would recommend this to anyone who is interested in working with Aphrodite. I feel like this is a really great, even if you have worked with her for a while, it's always interesting to see how other people perceive these deities. Would I buy this one? Probably, maybe. It's not a deity that I'm eagerly running out to work with per se. I've worked with her in the past. Honestly, I'm more of a Morrigan girl. The thing with this book is that it goes over enough details that I feel like beginners would get a good little intro and an idea if that's something they'd be interested in learning more, while the more advanced might appreciate looking at these stories in a little bit of a different light. And really the myths are kind of a little bit varied. It talks about how Aphrodite handles, I think her name is pronounced it looks like Psyche to me. I could be wrong. Greek isn't my thing. But the mortal that ends up in love with Aphrodite's son, and she talks about it because again, we look at these myths, again with the clawing in every video right now, she talks about how, and this particular myth, Aphrodite is more of the initiator and is bringing about all of this change. And when you look at deities who are in charge of change, they're a little intense, and it seems like this book just looks at her in different ways. Again, you could look at that as her being super jealous and being very human but at the same time, if you look at her as the initiator, it's a very different vibe of initiation isn't always love and roses. It's also Loki. He's definitely a bringer of change, and necessary change isn't always easy change. And so it's interesting to look at her in that way. It also talks about her and her origins. There's only a few of her myths that are mentioned, but the way they are mentioned and talked about in a modern context is really interesting. So if you're curious, if you work with her, you probably want to read through this. If you're not really interested in her, it's not anything revolutionary that's gonna make or break your life. But if it's a deity that you're curious about or that you work with, I feel like it would be worth reading through. So anyways, I would love to know your thoughts on this itty bitty little book in the comments down below. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons. If you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.